Photography has always been a mix of science and magic. It's technical and artistic. It's timing, position, and of course, luck. And while we can't always control our luck, we can grow in our abilities, and we can get in the steps. We can practice, practice, and practice. And all these things together, they help us grow. Photography is part inspiration and part discipline, and they don't always run in parallel. Sometimes inspiration hits, and sometimes I just need to go and get the work done. But one thing that is consistent for me is my pursuit of the experience. If I love a camera, I feel inspired by it. And I don't always feel like I'm working when I'm using a camera that I love. Today, I want to introduce you to a new camera that's been inspiring me lately, the OM-3. I'm gonna start by sharing a bit of my personal experiences with this camera and what has been working for me, and then I'll highlight some of the specs of this brand new camera from OM. And finally, I'll make some comparisons that I'm familiar with and tell you who I think this camera is for. I hope you're watching this video from a place of peace in your life. If this is your first time here, my name is Dave, and I'm a photographer and filmmaker from the Bay Area of California. I hope to educate and empower you with information on this channel, so be sure to subscribe if that resonates with you. And if you reach out or comment, I always try to respond because community comes first. So follow along and join the community. And before I get too far into this video, I want you to know that OM did send me this camera. They are sponsoring this video today. And that said, they have not given me anything to say other than the list of features, and all of the thoughts and opinions in this video are all mine, and OM empowered me to make this video however I wanted. So let me start by highlighting 3 reasons that I have really been loving this camera lately. First, I absolutely love this design. I am just a sucker for a vintage design, small and lightweight camera. And this checks every box. This camera is lightweight, and it's got a familiar design to the film cameras from 40 years ago. It's got that squared off, no grip design. I especially love this dial on the front, which lets me cycle through 5 predetermined modes of capture with just the turn of the dial. No menus required when you're out shooting. And honestly, that's the second thing that I love. This camera is full of customizations for the way that you want your photos to look. Now, I've been shooting on JPEG for the past month because I just wanted to make photos and not think about editing. I was able to build my look entirely within this camera in the menus. I was able to tweak curves and color wheels and even filter simulations for monochrome. The third thing that I love about this camera is that micro 4/3 sensor. And it's small, yeah, much smaller than my full frame cameras, but it's a native 4/3 sensor, which is a totally different crop. And therefore it's a very different photo than my full frame cameras are going to produce. Now this means that the photos from this camera combined with the looks that I have dialed in and this 4/3 crop are uniquely my own. I immediately know the OM-3 photos in my photo library and in my camera roll. The photos you've been seeing in this video are all unedited and they're straight out of the camera, which honestly is what I'm looking for in a camera like this. As someone who only typically shoots manual digital and film cameras like the Leica M11 and the M6, I love having a small form factor beautifully designed and high quality camera. And when you add in this autofocus, it is an incredible point and shoot. I would say this camera would be one that would live in my backpack and go anywhere as my day-to-day. And honestly would just be great for anything inconsequential, which if we're honest, most of life is. Now here is a quick list of specs from this camera. There is a 20 megapixel stacked sensor. This camera is a full metal body with IP53 weather sealing. It has the TruePic X processor, and it carries that same quality of the OM-1 Mark II, offering pro-level performance, but in a much more compact design. This camera has 5-axis image stabilization. It has a computational photography button to access modes like multiple exposure, live composite, high resolution photos that get up to 50 megapixels. It has focus stacking, it has a live ND, and it even has a live GND as well. There are several autofocus modes and they cover the entire sensor. There's also video modes, including shooting and log footage, and many more features than I can actually cover in today's video. And of course, you can easily visit their website and learn more all about the details and all of the tech specs of this camera. Now, there are a few things that are curious to me about this camera, and I wouldn't be honest with you if I didn't point them out. First, I want to talk about this dial because there are 5 custom modes for this camera. And if you combine that top custom mode dial with the fact that there are 5 different shooting modes on the front dial, you could potentially build out 25 looks, which feels like a lot more than anyone ever would need or use. The video features in this camera are following a trend that I feel like every camera made today follows. They're trying to be everything to everyone. And for me personally, I just miss dedicated photography cameras. I personally would not use a camera like this for video, but that's just me. It does have great specs on video and you can read all about them. Finally, the last thing I'll say about this camera is that the art modes just seem a little unrefined for a camera like this. They almost have an iPhone photography app quality to them, but let's just be honest. I mean, even a completely professional camera like my Sony a7R5 has modes like this that I can't imagine anyone's actually ever going to use. Now again, your mileage may vary. This camera will retail for $1,999 US and start shipping later this month. And I hope that this video helps you determine if this would be a camera that you would use. So, who is this camera for? Well, I think it's a fantastic second camera. So let me explain. A camera like this is never going to replace, say, my Leica M11. And it's not going to replace my Sony a7R5 for commercial work. But if we are honest, most photographers, most of us, we have second cameras and we love to have a point and shoot, something that's lightweight, that we can throw in our bag and that we're not afraid to take anywhere. Years ago for me, this was a camera like the Fuji X100V, but I didn't love that camera and I sold it off. And I've got friends that shoot the Ricoh GR3 and others that shoot the Nikon ZFC. And for many people, these can be considered second cameras. All these cameras have options to customize film looks and really dial in something that you don't have to edit, which is why it makes a fantastic second camera. I think the OM-3 is going to sit among the cameras in that field, and over time, I think we're gonna look at this camera as a leader in the category. Now, if you are a Leica photographer like me who is looking for a compact, lightweight, and easy to go second camera, seriously give some consideration to the new OM-3. I hope this video has helped you learn a bit about this new camera and what it can do. If you want to see the photos from this camera a little closer, be sure to hit the link in the description and check out the photos for yourself that you've seen throughout this video. You can probably even see a few more that weren't in the video on the link below. Great job to OM. This is an awesome camera. I've really enjoyed using it and I'm looking forward to using it more in the future. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you next time.